Tyler, Mr. Trees Trimble. This is my trusty Felco 820. Could never live without it. And this is wintertime in San Diego. We are here at Rogers Community Garden at UCSD looking at these apricot trees and the other assortment of trees that we have here. We have a co-planting going on here. So there's 2 apricots, slightly different season, planted in the same hole for longer season and space, conservation. So the way that you attack this is co-plantings and multi-grafts. It's really important to keep each one equal size so that the big brother doesn't dominate the little brother, and there's always a big brother dominating the little brother. So first of all, you kind of assess who's bigger, who's more dominant, who's going to get the bigger butt kicking. So also with these types of cultivated fruits, we don't necessarily need them any bigger than we can reach. So I always like to, first things first, is kind of assess an overall height. I want to walk up to the tree and kind of feel around up in here, and about as high as I can reach, maybe a little bit taller for a buffer. I'll go ahead and start cutting back to. And then once we've got an established height, then we'll go through and be a little more particular about fruiting woods and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get this party going. It's always important too to make fewer bigger cuts as opposed to a whole bunch of little cuts, because it's less work to make big cuts. So look at the tree overall and try to make as few cuts as you can, but make them count. And then when you're deciding where to cut back on an individual limb, let me show you here. I always like to pick a bud that's facing the direction that I would like that branch to grow. Sometimes it takes your advice, sometimes it doesn't, but a little fanning in a direction always helps. So there's an outward facer there, and that branch might go eventually, but you never stand in one place too long. Make a couple of cuts and move on so you get a different perspective on things. Never cut back and leave a stub. Can you see that there? The stub point. Never cut back and leave, a little along those lines. Always try to cut it back as cleanly as you can against the plant's collar or against the next living tissue of the plant. Never leave a stub. Anything shooting down and really in the way, or like I said before, like really bad habits in your mind, should just go. Cut your lockers. Never be afraid to cut. All right, so basically these apricots and apriums can fruit on last year's growth. And basically what that is these big long whips like this, and even more so this little more tender wood, this more reddish color, brownish reddish colored wood here is the most vibrant or vigorous of the production of the apricots. So basically what we're looking for is actually these little short stubby little branches that have these more exploded spur points on them or bud points on them, and these are usually located on the older wood of this tree, kind of throughout here. They're kind of crappy looking branches, but if they're exploded out like this, these spurs are usually the productive ones, and these are the ones we want to keep as much of as we can. These older or these younger, more vigorous teenage kids, we want to really slow these down and cut them back, and if they produce, they produce. If they don't, they don't. They're more structural. So really look for those old little spur points on here and keep as many of them as you can. Now we're looking for, we really want to have a couple of structure branches in here. And co-planting, we're kind of treating these like one giant tree, but we really want to have, a structure branch occupying its own space in the tree. This being a structure branch. There's no other big branch around it, and at the end of this structure branch, we've got spurs and new wood and productivity, fruit wood, so to speak, on the end here. So that's all that needs to stay. If it's not productive and it's not structural, it's out of here, because the tree will do too many jobs and then it won't do any one job great. So we got to focus its attention on what needs to happen. Now that it worked on that one a lot, we're gonna come work on this one a little bit more. He's the smaller one of the group, so he'll get less pruning, but he will be maintained at the same height as the brother here. And I always try to, you know, out with the old, in with the new, so to speak, if we can. This nice branch here is a new vigorous branch, and at the end of this branch we have all this new explosion fruit wood at the end there, and I'll probably put on quite a bit of fruit. So I like those branches. I like cutting those back to these nice little baskets at the end. Really want these to kind of be equal size and mass and not in each other's way. Anything that's broken or kind of funky looking, get it out of there. Don't like encourage a bad habit. If there's something kind of funny going on, don't try to prop it or brace it or change it or leave it. Just cut your losses so energy goes to the good places of the tree. And you're cutting back a branch that doesn't have a lot of, you know, new growth sprouting out of it. I always like to leave more than a foot. If you leave any less than a foot, I consider that a stub, and that will probably die because the energy will go other places to bigger, more vigorous parts of the tree, as opposed to that little 6-inch stub that you've left. So then this will die and then become a problem or a dead spot in your tree. So I always like to leave, you know, a foot or more, preferably more, if I'm ever just cutting back a random branch like that. You should be able to walk up to this tree, pretty much reach and access all points fairly easily. You should see nice structure branches kind of all in their own place. Not a lot of crisscrossing or main things. And at the ends of your structure branches, you need to have an abundance of spur or last year's growth fruiting wood on the ends. If it's none of the above, it's gone. If it's crisscrossing or ugly, it's gone. If it's anything other than fruit wood or structure, it's gone. So the end here, you are left with a tree that's got pretty much nothing but fruit wood left on it. So when it wakes up, this tree says, oh, obviously you want me to fruit. And it's got one good job to do, as opposed to waking up and having all kinds of different things to do and different age woods and different things to take care of. So it's focused, and hopefully it takes your guidance and has an exceptional year.